page reporting.
I call to order the Etna Township Board of Trustees special meeting here on Tuesday, February 11th, 2025 at 4 p.m. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Here.
Mr. Burkholder?
Here.
Ms. McKee?
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
I'll second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
You didn't want to change it?
Well, we're going to switch the order because we want our township administrator to be here for the interviews of the executive session. The budget, we'll start with the budget workshop.
Okay.
So I will turn it over to our fiscal officer, Ms. Coutinho, and Mr. Kirby.
Okay.
First, I'd like to explain how I got my numbers, okay?
Yep.
First of all, of course, I used the revenue status from 2024
Yes.
to calculate what the estimated revenue would be for this year. Okay, that's where you got on the last page of that Excel spreadsheet of what was estimated for this year. Then I used the fund status report from 2024 to see what the carryover was. And that's just the one-page report, I believe you got also. But I put those numbers also on the next to last line of each fund code on the Excel spreadsheet. And they are exact. I gotta get the right one, sorry. So that's where I get the revenue side. Then I took the appropriation status from 2024, reviewed what was spent last year in each fund code, and then I took about 50-some pages of notes that I had taken, specifically from UAN, of which vendors we used, like electric, gas, and I know electric is going to go up around 28% because of the ADP riders that they put on. And if you notice, the natural gas went flying sky high too this year. And it went up about 18%. So I based those kind of things with all my notes and the notes that I've taken, such as we wanted a new truck for the road crew. We talked about a new roof for the street department, and those kind of notes that I have. And that's where I came up with my numbers. Now, I know that they're not perfect, and thank you for having this meeting so we can go over those numbers, because we do need to adjust some of them. We've got plenty of room to adjust. And again, I think I told you on the first meeting we had, I'm an ultra conservative. And so this is your township, and I want you guys to feel comfortable about what we're putting together. But I do feel these are pretty close numbers based on 2024 numbers and the calculations that was put together and the needs of the village. There are some needs I did not know about, and that's why I need to know about them tonight too.
Thank you.
And we can go over each fund one by one. Of course, starting with the big one, general fund.
Yep.
Because after that, it'll be pretty good, pretty easy, I think. I tried to put some notes out in the comments area on that Excel spreadsheet, where I came up with my numbers, if there was going to be any increase. Medical insurance, of course, regretfully, I don't think it'll ever come down. Okay, I show that as a 20% increase. And all the other incidental insurances basically are going up 15% from what I've seen. And I did call a few brokers to get those numbers, what they guesstimated. You do have PEP, or it's through Otarma for your liability insurance, and they are guessing. I just talked to Dave Anderson and Rob Beglin. They're looking at an 18% increase for most entities across the board. Of course, it depends on their claims and their equipment, the age of equipment, new equipment. So that could change anywhere between 15 and 20% is what the base rate. So I went with 18%. Has anybody got any comments or questions? I'll leave it at that for now.
I did have a question on just you're calling it the healthcare reimbursement. We've got the HRA and HSA for the existing officials here. How was that figure achieved?
Okay.
We've got a $6,500 deductible, max $7,500 out of pocket. How was that? Was there a utilization rate used, or?
What I looked at was what was used last year, and noticed that what we put in the budget, only about 50% to 60%, depending on what fund you're looking at, was used. So I kept it the same this year because you could have.
Was the prior year fully funded for the total exposure? So you're saying we had a utilization rate of 50%?
Yeah, you saved a lot of money on that HRA. You saved a ton.
That was the purpose of, yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect to do that. That was great. I mean, whoever idea that was. That's what we did in South Zanesville too. We raised the deductible to $2,000 a year for individual, $4,000 for family, and used the HRA, and we actually saved almost $20,000. And that's big for it.
That's what we did do at the fire department, and yeah, huge savings. I mean,
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yep,
So.
yep, it sure is. But yeah, that's where I came up with. You still want to base it, like you said, for about the 6,500, but if you see a trend, usually the HRA is only about 70% is what the max I've ever seen it used.
Yeah.
But you still want to budget.
Well, I know, like the fire department, it's usually they're more fit, we figured 45%, but yeah, I was thinking budgeting 60% probably be good, but you're saying about 50%?
Well, that's what you usually, but I still based it pretty much on what was last year, just to be safe. Because you could have that one incident, and I'll give you an example. One of your employees comes down with cancer, and your expenses are going to go sky high for that individual. So
Well, to the max 7,500 out of pocket, and I mean,
but
the exposure's capped, but yeah.
A lot of them only used 50% of their HRA last year.
On the second page, I did have a question on the election expenses. It was zero prior, you got $1,000 in there. What expenses would we have?
If there's any kind of election this year, and that's why I didn't know how your election went, so I put $1,000 in there. Even if you have a levy or anything, they'll charge you for putting it on there.
Yeah, I don't think we don't have anything on there. I mean, it's minor, but I was just wondering if you
Yeah, I can
knew
take that off. That's
something was.
Yeah, if you want to take that off, I can do that. Okay. Your travel and meeting expenses that's basically what was spent last year, was 65. That's still on the second page. It's below that election expense. Is that for just the trustees, or is that for the fiscal officer and the trustees?
It's for everybody now. I mean,
Okay. Because Jackie has to have at least 6 hours of training plus 12 over the next 2 years.
yes.
Okay. So I didn't know if I should increase that. Was one of my questions. Should I increase that? And she has to go to Columbus. It's not like it's a long way out.
Right. Only reason I'm saying is because in our organization meeting, we added reimbursement to the board. Like, for instance, we have the BZA board and we have the zoning board. If they go to any kind of training, we're going to reimburse them out.
Okay.
So we didn't do it, so we need to include that.
So I should increase that as
I would.
probably
Yes.
about, let's say, make it instead of 6,500, say, make it 9,000. That's to cover everybody and everything.
Yeah.
Well, how much is that meeting in March I gotta go to?
Well, you're going to spend at least $200 for the fee, and then probably another $100 for travel.
What do you mean, when you say travel, you talking about the mileage, or you talking about?
Mileage is one thing, but you have a fee that you have to pay also because they provide lunch and all this.
Oh, okay, got you.
And materials.
Yeah, got, okay.
So I'm just, that was one of the questions. I want to make sure everybody's covered.
And
Yep.
and if that was the amount that was previously used, I believe that there's a lot of OTA
Yeah.
training events for zoning inspector for BZ. That we really need to have them utilize that, so I could see doubling that to really
Take it from 6,000
train our
to
people.
13.
I mean, I'd say 12K.
Okay.
Well, wait, well, I'm not saying, you know, we didn't specify in our organization meeting how much we were gonna allow for our board members to take training. We don't have a cap on that. So maybe that's something we as a board need to make that decision to come up with a cap amount, because, and it should be.
Well, that would be your cap amount right there.
Well, individually is what I'm saying. For instance, if somebody takes a class that may cost $500, because we didn't specify it on our organization meeting, that they can go take, it just says they can take training and we'll pay for it. So I just think we're gonna have to have that discussion.
Internal, but for
Yeah.
budgeting reasons.
Correct.
Go ahead and put that in.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Are we doing that at 12K?
Yes, sir.
You want 12 or?
Yeah, 12K, because that way OTA, BCA, all the zoning, all the
Yeah.
trustees,
The
they're all
ones that haven't been using it,
We'll start.
and how is we do pay for a block fee, is that what's in here for the OTA training in that? Where we're not paying the individual course amounts?
That's what we just talked about.
We haven't discussed that at all.
We have to, for the BZA and zoning commission members to take that training under that all-encompassing subscription, they have to become a member
Correct.
of OTA.
Yeah. And
Each individual has to become a member so they have their own sign-on. So the cost of that membership, which is probably more as an affiliate or associate, might be at $50.
Is that the one I sent to Whitney County?
Yeah,
Right.
I already-
Mark Van Buren.
Yeah, I sent that last.
But we got it for all the BZA
All the
members?
BZA,
And
all the
zoning.
zoning, everybody here,
'Cause, yeah,
Ted, I'm not sure if we got Holly. or-
But the blanket to allow everybody to take those courses for nothing,
Is a different amount.
is that
It's like-
within this?
well, it's like $275, last I recall.
Well, we can put it in this once you guys approve it.
Okay.
I think it's more than 275, or I thought it was thousands.
No, I don't think it's,
I can look that up for the.
the way they get you is you don't have to pay the 20 per seminar now, but you have to register all of your employees that are gonna have access to that
Right.
training.
Right.
Which is good, because they get more people.
And the two trainings I would suggest, and she has to take, she don't have a choice, was public records training.
Yep.
And you should probably have some other people go to that too.
Yes.
That's 3 hours and 15 minutes of your life you'll never get back.
Mm-hmm.
I think I did that online last year.
Yeah.
And the other one is ethics training, which is something
Yes.
she don't have a choice, you have to take. But it's good for everybody.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you ever been in a class with Susan Wilkie from the Ethics Commission?
Yeah.
She is highly
Yeah,
entertaining.
she is.
So, yeah, I would suggest both those for everybody.
On the next item, advertising, it went from 42 to 3,000. Is there a reason for the decrease, if that was the actual?
Yeah, there was a big drop in what you used last year. You only used about, I got the, I can tell you exactly what you used last year.
Okay. Now, on the advertising,
Yeah, you didn't use any last year. There was
yeah.
none used in the advertising line last year.
Now, advertising is going to change now. I don't know if you know, there was a legislation that was pushed down that we don't have to publish it in a newspaper. We can actually publish it on our website.
Yes, you can publish it on a website, you can post it in the post office, you can
Yes.
post it on your doors, you can do it.
So we don't have to spend as much to go out there, because it was just.
But if you do advertising to hire somebody, that does still have to be in paper.
Yes.
Now, My question was, it's an exact amount, 420250.
That's what it said.
That was the budgeted amount?
That's what it said, yeah.
Okay.
And-
I just thought maybe that was the actual amount that you had in there. Okay.
No, the first line is just what was 2024. The second line is what we want to use for 2025. Yeah, there was some strange numbers. The next one, like the one right below it, communications, printing and advertising, 52, 53, 13.
That's the Newark Advocate.
Yeah, but again, the amount that was actually budgeted, that was.
Well, I believe that was taken from the prior year's use, and it was just carried over
Yeah.
the actual.
And to make it simpler, I always use even numbers.
Yeah, that's the way to do it on a budget, yeah.
Okay, so property insurance premiums, that, of course, that's spread across a whole bunch of things. And again, I told you it was gonna go probably 15 to 20%. I always estimate 18 right in the middle. One village though, that I've been working with, theirs went up 106%. Because they failed to
Now,
report everything.
what was last year's? You said it's going up, but the budget number is actually going down.
It's because it was not.
Because it was highly budgeted last, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you won't, the only time it's lower is if it was actually lower expenses. And there's other areas that liability insurance comes from too, like roads and bridges and stuff like that. It's not just one fund does that.
Yes.
I have a question on the, these are numbered, so, on the general fund, other expenses, you have at 275. What's that encompass?
Well, last year that was.
557.
Where's it, 990?
599.
599, 110, 599, okay, sorry about that. Can I get to my paper?
Last year you had 557,000 in there.
110?
Right?
Okay, yeah, and that covers things that aren't covered in the other categories. No, it's not. Some people call it a slush fund. I don't, because this is actually last year in that fund code. It was. There was 257,000 plus 9,800 carryover, almost 260 some thousand. The idea is to get away from that fund code completely, but it'll just take a couple of years to get down here because last year it was budgeted at 557,000. We're cutting it in half because you only spent half. Those numbers really should go up where they belong.
Could you give some examples of what was thrown in there?
I don't have that in
Okay.
front of me. We could look it up sometime, yeah.
Then I have a question on the town hall. Well, the electric you were talking about, we're on an aggregation, not the township aggregation, but separate. I think that's throughout next year too, so we shouldn't be going up, but the lighting district, we have several lighting districts. Where's that in this budget? Because that's also got to be tracked. It's supposed to be conveyed to the auditor and then put on the tax rolls. It wasn't last year, but so I would think it needs to be a separate line item now.
I don't remember seeing that on last year's. Is that a different fund completely? But I'm looking at your electricity, just in general.
Because we've got, I think it was six accounts that we pay for.
Highways has electric coming out of it.
But that's the road. I'm just wondering where the lighting districts are.
Yeah, these
Because
are-
again, we've got to
Yeah,
submit that to the auditor, so I would think that needs to be separately tracked.
Yeah, we can, I just don't have that information because I don't know where the lighting districts are.
I don't know that they ever, I don't know how they handle that or what categories they put those in.
Yeah, we provided it, I know.
Some are billed back to the, I believe the HOAs, some of them go on to the property taxes. There's a variety of them.
Yeah. We'll have to take a look at your electric bills to find out how, because the only thing I got is what goes in
I mean,
street lights.
we've got it, because what we actually did is, the board passed aggregation for everybody, but it was actually cheaper going
absolutely.
elsewhere. So we actually have that agreement, and all those were compiled. And again, like I said, last year, it was supposed to go on the tax for, for us to get reimbursed. It didn't. So I don't know why it was stopped being tracked, or if it's not being tracked separately in UAN,
And what
I
did
think
it-
it needs to.
What did you call it again, district?
Lighting districts.
It should be included in there. I remember Holly bringing that spreadsheet when we were here working together, so it should be in there.
Spreadsheets in UAN
It
are
was,
different.
That's
no,
all.
we were keeping track.
Keeping it off on
We were
books.
tracking it locally on her computer.
Right, but we can put it UAN to do that.
Okay.
These are street lights. That's
Yes.
what those lighting
Right,
Right,
districts are.
and that's what, if you go all the way back to 1,000, well, like highways, 1,330-351 is electricity. That
Mhm.
might have been where it was paid out.
You want there?
But what we could do is give it a different cost code
Mhm.
for each district
Mm-hmm.
so that we could balance that out. That's not hard to do.
Right, I mean, that's why we have accounting systems to be able to keep track of those things and not try to pull together documents and invoices and, it should be a simple report of
Yeah,
cost
and
codes.
it's simple. All you have to do is, if the cost center it'll be the same code until you get to those 4 zeros. Then you can make up electric, and you can make it 777
Yeah.
for one district, 888 for another.
And we've got other things like legal expenses that through the JEDZs.
Yeah, you got
Yeah,
that.
we got that.
And NCA that,
Yeah, those are all in that first page.
Well, we don't have NCA.
NCA?
I think anything that we need to track
Mhm.
and be reimbursed, it should be
Yeah.
separate cost codes. So
Yeah, we can do that. We just need to know how many districts we got and what the districts are
Well,
called.
we have all the JEDs, we just need wherever there's a JED 7, we need an NCA.
I thought I saw.
Well, JED 7's,
No.
NCAA's not in JED 7.
No,
NCA's a
no,
separate
No,
entity.
no. Wherever we have the JEDs, the 1 through 7 JED, after 7, put
Need to add
operating
an
supplies, NCA. That's another line item.
It's on there.
Oh, up here,
Yeah.
accounting and legal fees way up here, there is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do we need an operating expense for this NCA? The only thing I know we pay is
We used to pay
we only pay the legal bills.
Right, until they got up and running. And then after that, that
We
was
still
supposed
pay
to,
the legal
well,
fees,
not,
and
it's
then
supposed
they
to
pay.
stop after it got up and running.
Okay, so you've already got that in there then?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're good. We're good.
Now, as far as revenues that flow from the NCA to the township, will that be captured in, like, the parks? We've made a request for $125,000 for the High Point Park over there. Where should we capture that in and out?
Well, that'd be other government
Well,
transfers.
you can actually, you got the code in here for parks, which is 1,610.
Yep.
If you want to put, again, right now we put capital outlay parks down there. And that's, I put a note out there, startup for new grants. I think that's what we talked about before.
Yep.
And I put 50,000 in there just to find out what we're gonna get. And then the revenue would go into basically, just go into 1,000. And you could put all 7s in the revenue code too, that you can show the in and out.
Okay.
If that's what you're talking about.
But we're talking about expenditures today.
Right, but again, you want to do both at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. Mhm.
Then on the next page, compensation for board and commission members, top line. We just approved that the alternates can attend and get paid for the meeting, so they'll be.
Which number is that, sir?
That is 130-150.
Okay.
He's all the way on the top.
top of the page.
Top
You
of
have
the
to
page.
call out where you are so everybody
Okay.
knows.
All right.
So I don't know if that's what was done before, but with the alternates attending and being paid, that will increase.
Okay, so we just need to add the alternate, which would, that would also increase the PERS, or their
No.
PERS, no?
Yeah.
They're 1099,
Okay, they're 1099. Okay, all right.
so you'll have 2 extra people at what, $55? You only have,
Times whatever meetings, yeah.
you only have 2 alternates, right?
Correct, for the BZA.
$110 a month?
There's 1 meeting a month or 2.
It depends on how many
Depends on
you
what's
hold.
going on.
Normally one for the BZA.
So
Okay, so one month, that's 550 times 2, that's $1,100.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay, plus
It was
11.
about 8% increase. I just want to make sure that we're counting because it said no change, so.
Okay, yep.
And then 2 lines down, other salaries, general, you have 16,000. What would be included in that?
Wait a minute, others.
Or what's anticipated?
Well,
You have zoning and zoning planner above.
yeah, and other, was last.
Is that
I'm looking.
multi-intern or?
Yes, that was the intern probably.
What number is that?
1,130, 190,
Okay,
0001.
gotcha,
Mhm.
others.
And you spent 14,800 last year.
Mhm.
That
But
was
that's more
intern. Yeah, if you anticipate putting that person back on again, that's why I put him
And
in
we
there.
are.
I just want to know what it
Should we
was.
increase that though? Because, you know, the cost is going up. I don't know if you want to.
Well, you might want to increase a little because we have indicated to Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission that we'll take another intern this year,
So,
which
say
it could be higher.
So, say 20,000 instead of 16?
That's fine.
Okay. That's a good program because you can keep people local that way maybe.
Yeah, I love that. College intern.
They will be OPERS qualified, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And always has to do with Medicare. Don't have a choice.
And then below that, in this section, I'll refrain from repeating 1,000 because everyone's
Yeah.
1,000. 130, 228.
Healthcare?
Healthcare reimbursement, it was 5,400 and 6,000.
Mhm.
It says include the new planner. 54, that's twice the HSA amount, which employees were not doing HSA, so are you figuring on an HSA for that employee?
That was, yeah.
Yeah, the employees are on a straight HRA. The only individuals with an HSA are the elected officials because we can't change that during our term.
Okay. So keep it at 54 or is that what you're for?
Well, it should be 0. If it's for an employee, it should be 0, but the cost increase should be reflected as an HRA, which,
Okay.
do you have that, is that only for specific? Because you had 22,000 when we were talking about the 50% utilization rate.
Mhm.
Was that only for certain employees and not the zoning?
Correct. Yeah, I put all the zoning people down in the zoning
Okay.
code.
So I guess depending on what the utilization rate is, because again, the maximum exposure is 7,500, and if it's 2 employees, that's 15,000. If you're doing 50% exposure, you're saying 7,500 is the
Yeah.
anticipated cost.
Last year, you actually spent 5,400 in that category.
Because last year we had the HSA.
Mm.
We switched it to straight HRA now.
Don't blame you.
So
So we could change the.
do you
code.
want that to reflect the HRA at 7,500?
Yeah. Yep. And what we'll do, we'll probably have to change that code if you haven't paid anything out of it already, which I don't think you have. We'll change it to, instead of 228, which is healthcare reimbursement, we'll change it to the other code.
So in that first
That will
figure
reflect.
of 22,000, that was what, the office employee and officials? And the road crew's separate in a separate budget? Okay. That's 7,500. Now here again, you got in 130, 345 advertising, and then other communications, printing and advertising. Is that separate from, is that for zoning only?
Yes. And there wasn't much done last year, $256. That was what was actually spent. So I figure there might be something put in the paper one time.
Okay, I just don't know why it was separate from the other one,
Yeah.
because the other one was all the announcements for, right, for zoning. So I don't know what the, or we have two separate funds for a reason, or?
Because, yeah, and last year, again, there, in that code, you did spend the $256 and a penny, all right? But, so, or and a quarter, that's what it was. So I left it there just for the zoning issues only. Okay, yeah, I could put it over the.
Well, I'm just wondering what the zoning would have separate from what the other ones that are doing all the legal public
Unless-
hearing announcements.
Unless they post a change to the zoning, or you could do anything like that. I mean, it's a cover-all. If you don't use it, we can take it out next year.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just properly classifying the expenditures into, you know, and
Yeah, and that's why I took out the township handbook and created a lot of this stuff. So, because that was the way that should flow. Zoning should be zoning, town hall should be town hall, park should be parks, cemetery should be cemetery.
Right.
Things like that.
Yep.
At town hall, I dropped the repairs and maintenance in the town hall, which is 120, I'm going back to 120, I'm sorry, 323. Everything's been, all the furnaces and everything's been fixed now, right? Or-
No.
or-
No, I mean, we have one new furnace, but this furnace in here only had a repair. And I think there are some other things that are gonna need to be done out front.
So
We
should
still have, we have the door issue.
probably painting all the lines and everything if you want to do, because the street, you know, the lines out here, the curbs, you know, so people visual.
Well, yeah, we still got some handicap
Yeah.
problems, accessibility from the front of the building to get to the side of the building now.
So should we increase it?
Well, I think we should, because we're gonna have to, now this may be covered under the Pike Street improvement, but we're gonna be putting a parking lot in the back here for maintenance. Now, that'll probably happen in 2026. But I think there are other things that need to be addressed out
So are
front as
you going to
well.
also line across the street for the park?
Well, not yet. We may temporarily, but in 2026, and that's what we're trying to match up. When that park get improved, we'll probably look at getting the repaving done
The whole
over
street
there.
be done?
Around the park, yeah. And that's still fluid as far as the sequencing of that, I guess I should say.
So what the, let's just say the furnace / air conditioning and outside, you want to double that 30,000 to 60?
I would only be, just so we're safe, because there's some other things. The cupola up on top has to be resealed and painted.
You got flat roof?
No,
Oh,
shingled.
okay.
But we have some other issues that have been identified in a report assessment on things that we should be doing here on the building.
When PEP came in and looked at stuff, is that what you're talking about?
It was the organization that, it was a company that came in and gave us a report.
Because PEP does a good job of doing all those things too, that's why I asked that question.
Plus, we've had some plumbing issues as well for the building.
Yeah, okay, all right. So that was a question I had, because I didn't think I had enough in there.
I think it'll be sufficient, but I'd rather have a little more at least appropriated in case.
Yeah,
and if we get higher estimates or more scope, we can always increase it.
Right.
But I had a question on in the zoning, 130-599 -1.
Yeah.
Other expenses again, for the zoning, 65,000.
Yes.
Just what kind of catch-all stuff is in that?
Again, I'd have to go back and look at it. I basically looked at 130,
Because when we have supplies of 3,000, it just seems like a big catch-all that's not related to permits, advertising, contracted services.
last year, there was appropriated 77,000. And there was actually spent 63, almost 64,000.
Mhm.
Do we know what that was?
I don't know what that was. That's
Hmm.
a boatload of research right there. Because it could be widgets for $1 to anything. But-
Well, I just know we have other categories, supplies, printing. I'm just trying to,
And I would prefer you putting it in supplies or professional services, okay? And I can take it out of here and put it there.
well, that's one thing. I'd still like to have it set up where the board has read access to the UAN so we can kind of dive into this and check or be provided the reports.
Yeah, with one computer set up for UAN, I mean, you can come in and probably look at it as needed. But I'm not gonna say they wouldn't allow you could have read capabilities and that's it.
But we've talked to them before, but the prior fiscal officer talked to them before, but I just think maybe that what's being thrown in there should probably be classified in another.
Yeah, and we could move that 65,000 up into the 300 area, which is, we could make a subcategory 130-349, which is, I'll have to look at it, but usually 340 is the one I would put. That'd be professional services. You can put half of it there, and you can put the other half in regular supplies like 130-420.
Was it kind of premature since we don't know what is being put in there? It could be
Well, this
all
way,
professional services and you're throwing some in supplies.
I
I'd
would-
like to at least see a printout of what's being
Yeah.
thrown in there. I would think by the vendor, you'd be able to tell.
No, you can go into UAN and you can look at that specific code, and it'll probably list, it could be one vendor, it could be 4 pages of vendors. But we can do that. That's not an issue. We can do it for both of those.
I just think the others should be analyzed, and then if 30% is really professional contracted services, throw it there. If it-
Sure. No, we can do that.
For example, Chris, if we're updating that office with furniture, new computers, new storage,
Yeah, but there
Maybe
should be a
even
code for that.
scanning capabilities, we would want to track that in zoning, right? Specifically to that office.
Yeah. I can print out those reports.
Okay.
I had to think about where they were, so I can remember.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would like to see us get rid of all those other in
Yeah.
the same way.
Right.
We can go through
Right.
each category and
Yeah.
do that.
You should be able, we should be able to.
And we will look at it
And-
and we'll make a judgment of which one it should
And
be.
then the next section on there, 210, 360, 3,000, the contracted services sheriff.
Mhm.
We talked about this before. We have 360. We've got 4 deputies and vehicles. The costs have to be over 360.
But you're still using the last 85,000, if you haven't already, out of the ARPA fund.
Yeah.
We just did.
Yeah. So
Wasn't that in 2024?
I don't know if you got the
No,
bill
we
till
wrote
2025.
2025, we wrote the check in
Right.
2025.
So that
That was the
85,000.
first check.
Yeah, that 85,000, so you're looking at 360 plus 85, that's $445,000.
But we're not accounting for the full amount here, or because the ARPA is funds.
That should be gone. That all had to be, remember when we did the appropriation? to
Right,
increase-
I understand. Well, it's kind of like the park. The park's gonna be 600, whatever, 600,000. We've got grant for 3 something. You still list the 600 as expenses and the grant's revenue. Isn't that ARPA under the revenue, so the expenses should be the full?
Not, With ARPA, no. After you get that done, you want to know what the balance would be after the contract. Let's say if they had 445,000, you'd want to just balance, you just want to do the 360,000 for 2025 because you're already paying the other 85,000 out of ARPA. And then in March or April, you have to get onto the SLFR thing and show that you spent it all.
And Jackie, what's the cost of each deputy?
March?
April usually, March and April. What's the cost of? Well, not, is it each deputy or just quarterly?
Each deputy, there's a there's a cost. I thought it was 110,000. Well, you got the base, their health care, their all that. But within this contracted services, does that include fuel repairs for the? Because
that's the bill they send you is how much, and it's all combined in one bill. At least everywhere I've ever been, Jefferson County, Belmont County, all that way.
I know one of the cruisers just, I believe, got totaled. I don't know if the insurance is covering that. Do we have insurance on the cruisers?
I believe on the cruiser, my latest recollection, and don't quote me, I think that was gonna be, it was the, apparently the deputies was at fault. And so it was my understanding, I don't think we've seen anything in writing that the sheriff's department was gonna pick up that cost.
I would think that would fall under the county's liability insurance.
But we need to verify that.
But those are our vehicles.
That's
I would assume the
It's
vehicles are our property.
Well, they are, but I guess at the end of and again, I just found out some of these things. I haven't looked specifically at the contract, but it's my understanding at the end of service on those that they go back to the county commissioner. So I think it's a great question. I think it's something we need to dig into when we renegotiate the contract or renew the contract.
Yeah, generally, whoever's name is on the title, that's their responsibility.
Because we're purchasing them, we're fueling them,
That's
we're
correct.
washing them, and we're repairing them.
That is correct.
So
You're thinking this
We
may be
pay-
a little low then,
yeah.
even with the 85 and the 360.
Well, because I know for prior year, we didn't have a fourth deputy for most of the year.
That's correct.
We didn't, and that's another conversation I think
Correct.
we need to have with the extra deputies and that, because again, Violet Township is paying for their entire covered services $127,000 to the sheriff department there. I just think it's extreme cost. I want to make sure that we're getting the value of it, that it's not supplementing the base coverage.
Would you like to increase this for this purpose up
I
to
would.
360? What would you
Well, if you're
recommend?
saying 85, 420.
420?
Yeah, that's fine. That way at least and then we can see where we go with that.
It's per hour, is what we paid it. So if Maddox works 317 hours, he gets paid.
But do they add cost of vehicle and all that?
All that. Yeah.
That's part of the hourly rate?
Education, gas,
Retirement,
health
healthcare,
insurance, yeah.
Benefits?
but
We got about 16 minutes yet, so.
All right. Just need to spell check.
I had a quick, just there's a misspelling,
Yeah.
Public Works contracted,
Where's it? Oh, public works. Yeah, I know, I just seen that.
310.
360.
Yeah.
And then at the bottom of the page, 320, 360, 3,500, trash collections.
Mm-hmm.
I know, I thought we were ceasing those.
Yeah, I think
Is that where we paid for, that's where we paid for the trash? Yeah, we're not doing that anymore, are we?
no, I don't believe so.
Just zero it out.
It would take board action. That's where the Board of Trustees paid for, was it 1 quarter, Mr. Evans?
1
For
quarter.
the residents? They paid,
Multiple quarters that,
So make it zero, or should I leave
Zero.
a little bit in there just to cover anything that came from last year?
zero.
Zero.
Its payments are already out.
yeah, I think zero's
Oh,
appropriate.
well, that takes care of your police protection then.
Then on the next page, 410, 323 in cemeteries, repairs and maintenance.
Mhm.
Are we gonna do anything with that? Because that cemetery is in disarray and it's gonna
We
be
should
more
fix
than
the
$1,200.
Yeah, probably,
I mean, the fences,
I know people would appreciate it who's got their loved ones in there, but.
oh yeah, well, yeah, I've heard from quite a few residents, and like I said, we've got quite a bit of repair, and I think we had that,
You gonna?
prosecutor opinion about whose duty it is, and that, I believe it is our duty.
How would you feel about 20,000? Because I know we've had a company come out on stone restoration, but Mr. Evans is correct. The fencing and stuff is a major.
20,000 is fine.
Because, and we've got the path, I believe, I don't know when
Where
the
you
last time
put
that
it?
was done.
Repairs and maintenance?
Yeah, and that's good,
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
I agree.
I think it's gonna be more, but I mean, we could.
Well,
adjust it
we
later.
can up it because I think you're correct.
I'd say
Having-
50K.
50?
That's
We can do
fine.
that.
I mean, it doesn't mean we're authorizing now everything will
Right.
have
No,
to be
because if
authorized.
you don't use it by,
No problem.
say, the fall, and you need it
Yeah.
somewhere else, you can always write a
Right.
resolution to move.
That's
Right.
right.
But I agree, there's a lot to be done there.
And then on the next page,
So that's 50,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
50,000.
Next page, on health districts, payment to another political subdivision, 420,370, has 87,000 before, 60,000 now. What are those?
Wait a minute, I gotta find out where you're at. I'm sorry.
420,370.
Top of
Okay,
page
all right,
7.
payment to other political subdivision. We can take.
And that's under health. I didn't know what was last year's. Is that mosquito spraying?
Yeah, it could
We
be.
can look at the breakdown.
Okay.
Do you know what the amount was last year?
Yeah, I think it was the 87,125 was what was budgeted.
Well, yeah, but I don't know if it was.
420, I'm looking to see what was actually paid. 87, yeah, there was about $37,000 spent.
We definitely need to see what that's about.
I'd want to see a breakout of what, because I don't,
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah, no, we can do that.
Okay.
But we'll do that when we leave here. We can go in and print off those reports for the others and all that.
And then because I wasn't sure what that was, the payments to like 310, the 310 payments coming out of the Jed Z or going to the, I guess not out of the Jed Z, but for our portion of 310, the loan. Everybody else is already taken, but where's that in the budget? Is that highways or is that? And we've got Taylor Road payments.
Yeah, we'll have to keep on going. I've got one,
Okay.
it's not in the general fund.
I just didn't know where that was accounted for.
We need to find that out. We'll have to look at it.
Okay.
And then, I think it's capital outlay, how you have this, 760, 730, improvements of sites. I think that you have comment High Point Park.
Uh-huh.
I believe that's gonna be 2026, is it not?
It will, but there will be some expenditures as far as, we'll want to get the preparation of the documents and
Engineering.
MKSK, so we're probably looking to be safe at the
You have engineering and architectural, is that what you're talking about?
engineering and construction documents. And I don't know if we can begin on certain portions of the park. I mean, we don't want to do, we have to coordinate it with the improvements of Pike Street. So there's some other things. So some of that may begin in 2025. We're not sure yet.
Knock it down to 100,000?
Well-
Just to keep, because you want to probably have some in there. in case they do
250?
come in. 250?
Yeah, I'm good with 250.
That's fine.
That should cover it with looking at what the construction documents would
Okay.
require. But what was the that was, how much did we actually spend? 630 was budgeted for improvements of sites?
Yeah, 639 actually. 630 was budgeted, but you had money left over from the previous year that you also spent. That's why it's at 639.
Okay.
What did it go for though?
I'll have to look it up.
That question on the repairs and maintenance highways, the first four numbers, 2011, 330, 323, top of the page, 50,000. Is that for the road department maintenance?
Yeah, that's, I'm gonna say you're fixing potholes or, you know.
So that's
or-
not
or
for
it could
the-
be equipment, it could be.
The roof, the,
Yeah. But again, later on, way back in the municipal projects or, I don't know, I put enough
Okay.
money in there for $120,000 for a new roof. That's.
okay, I see on the next page for the,
Yeah, well, it's about all the way back to 4901 where I've got that 150,000 put back.
yeah. Now, on the roads and bridges, contract services, the 2031, 330, 360.
Yeah, I had zero because there was nothing there last year.
Well, you got 500,000 here.
Wait a minute. What?
Zero.
Which number?
2031,
Oh, 31, I'm sorry.
330, 360. Contract services.
Yes.
What was 970? It was reduced to 500,000. And I'm assuming that is for road repair and maintenance, basically asphalt
Yeah.
toppings and stuff like that.
Actually, last year, there was 970,000 budgeted and only 185,000 spent.
How much?
185,000 was spent.
How is that? Because the expenditure for the road maintenance for the microsurfacing and Cape Seal was 630,000.
I can only tell you what the report says right now. But yeah, there was $185,713.91 spent.
I think we need to look at that because again, I know it was 630,000 to Strausser Construction. So again, how are things being categorized?
How do you spell Strausser?
STRAWSER.
Okay, we'll look at where that was.
And that was a single contract. So, because I think typically, I think we budget about $1 million a year. I'm not sure. I've been speaking with the Strausser Construction, the others about possible plans this year, but I wouldn't expect it to be under 500,000. So
Okay, so right
I think-
now then. So do you want to increase that 500 to a higher number?
especially for mill and fill and anything, if we're repairing anything, I'd say probably put it at 900.
Right here,
Okay, so
that's where it is.
oh, that's where you paid it, okay. Paid it out of improvement of sites at a 1,760 is where that Strausser was paid.
So is that misclassified because improvement of sites isn't roads? And again, this is, I think, about properly tracking our expenses over years. And improvement of sites to me is, we have a site, town hall, and it's proven that the work wasn't done within there. So should that be recategorized?
It could be, it'll probably come up if the audits decide that it should be recategorized, that's when you probably do it. 2024, that's what happened in 2024, so I don't know if you can go back and fix that at this time. But the general fund can be used for anything, though. I mean, just bottom line, you could use it for painting the park if you want.
Well, correct, but especially the tax revenue that we get in, we've got the road and bridge levy, which I think is about 500 or 600,000 to ensure that that's being used for that before we start spending general funds. And
Yeah.
but again, for just reports classification, without looking at this, we would think that, oh, we just spent 180,000 on roads.
Yeah, I agree. And in that same vein, when we talk about the parks, we've got the improvement of sites. Is it better for that to be under the parks category? Because I agree that there's not enough
Sure.
addition when you talk about improvement of sites.
Sure.
And-
So I agree with your point,
Well-
Mr. Evans, as far as getting that in the right, so we can
And
track
the
that.
improvement of sites, 1,760, 730.
Correct.
That's, construction capital, that would be, that's where I put it. Now, it's not really under parks,
We had,
but it's in that same category area, 760.
Is there any way to have a spreadsheet of what it was used for last year? Well, I guess I'd like to just do a thorough analysis of what has been put into these, because I think, I won't say a lot, but, substantial amount has been, I think, miscategorized.
How much was paid out of the 760, 730 on the improvement of sites? We allocated 630,375, but what did we spend?
Well, that's the one that we spent 639,000, because you had left over from 2023 that you spent like $9,000, a final bill or something that had to be paid.
What was part of that, the park purchase? No, because that was put into escrow, so that already went.
Yeah,
See, those are things I'd like to see the detail on of what's in it.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, that amount.
we can look at that. That's no problem.
Especially if that was spent on there. Then the other is motor vehicles, down the page there, 231, 760, 750 as a new vehicle at 85,000.
I was
Yeah,
throwing a dart.
well,
I'm sorry.
if it's for the road crew and another plow truck in that, we're looking at 180 to 200,000.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was just like a Ford.
And that's just guessing, fully equipped in that, but it's been a while since an estimate's been requested, so I don't know. I know on the fire district board, all the trucks are just, what used to be 600,000 is 1.8. It's just incredible.
And with that said, you'd also want to put money in, if it's for a plow, you'd want to put enough money in to buy the plow too.
Well, that's the road superintendent indicated for fully equipped, 180 to 200, so I'd like to at least put 200, even if we're gonna ask for reimbursement through Jed's or anything else that.
And I'll put a note, new vehicle, plowing truck.
Plowing vehicle in that, but I think
where do you,
they're asking for another vehicle too.
yep,
Gator, I mean, there's other list
Oh,
of things that were, is that what you were all putting in there?
No,
yeah, we
that's
needed,
why I had it in red.
Because the last time we mentioned the Gator, or the other brand, the UT.
which would go in the park, that would be under the park, because that's what it'd be
Okay,
used
so
for.
that would
Well,
go
it's
under, that would go into general fund then.
Park and cemetery, those
Yeah,
are
you
used for
could-
both.
You could divide it among the two categories, because it'd be dual use, parks and cemeteries.
Okay, so it's still coming out of the general fund,
Yes.
all right.
Yes,
And the other thing I'll just note at this time, which will be up to the board to decide how we want to do it, relative to cash flow, we're going to have some serious expenses on Pike Street in 2026, and I haven't heard if we got anything from OPWC, but when it comes to equipment, we might also want to, when I was at the OTA conference, consider leasing as well, given if it's a favorable percentage, given what we're currently getting in Star, Ohio.
yeah.
So those are some options, which obviously, I think it's smart to put in extra, Mr. Evans, like you said, in case we're gonna purchase that outright. But the board will have an option later to determine if we're gonna go with leasing, which would help our cash flow, given the other capital improvements. But that's just a thought at this point.
Yeah, and then we were going to purchase a vehicle for the township itself to have here.
You mean like a?
Truck for
A
the
truck.
administrator.
Yeah, to be used by, yeah.
Well, we definitely
We
need
want
one
to
for
put that in there.
zoning. Yeah, we've talked about a vehicle.
Again, that would come out of the general fund then,
Okay.
right?
Yes,
Zoning-
correct.
and Zoning slash administrator.
Yes.
And I said maybe put some money on there for radios for the,
Yeah, I already did that, yeah. Radio.
Motorola radios.
You're going to do high frequency, not,
Right.
because of course Marks is out of the question. Yeah, okay, so, and that, we figured 10,000 for that already.
do we want to put anything in there for equipment for the township, like computers?
Computer, yeah, you should always have extra computers on hand. If somebody's computer goes down, we have one we can switch out. So you always want to have a couple of them on hand at all times. So yeah, I would definitely want to make sure that's,
Now, what's that? computers.
What,
For the office, that's what
Computers for the office.
yeah, what account's that going into?
Yeah, well, how, I mean,
general fund.
yeah, trustees or the office would come out of the general fund.
Yeah, well, we've had-
Somewhere.
Well, we've had to talk about upgrading everything. The phone system needs to be
Yes.
upgraded.
Oh, yeah.
So how much do we have as far as dealing with that?
How much do you want?
Which category are you
Well,
putting?
they're in 1,760, 740. We've got machinery, equipment, and furniture, which would be your computers
Okay.
and that. There's $400,000 currently already.
Who,
Crazy.
and again, then, I don't know, Ms. McKee or Mr. Evans, do we know, how much do we spend? We apparently had appropriated 476,024.
Yeah, oh shoot, right here it is. 760, we allocated 476,625, and you spent a whole 43,000.
How much?
43,000.
Okay.
So
Okay.
400,000, you can get the.
That's
lowest
all
one.
Well, I think
overly,
we're
yeah.
gonna
I
start.
think it's overstated, but
And
that's
and I would
fine.
suggest a nice laptop like this. This has got the big screen. I don't know if anybody has eye problems like I do, but this is
Yeah.
nice.
So just like, I don't know if we discussed it, I don't recall us discussing, we want to do some TVs in here, monitors. We talked about that.
Yeah.
Susan and I had that conversation
We have
before.
quotes for all of those
Yes.
things, and looking at that number, that's
Mhm.
gonna,
Right,
that should cover
yeah.
what in the total, between the
Good.
computers, between the monitors in here,
Yes.
the streaming, all of
Mhm.
that should cover
Can we
that total cost.
get the quotes to the full board? I haven't seen them. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, you want to leave it at 400,000 then for now?
Yeah. I
Because
would.
there's a bunch of different categories going
Yeah.
into
Yeah,
this.
just the computers themselves are
Yep.
gonna, we need,
Yeah.
everyone needs computers.
And then, I think the only other question I had is the estimated revenue carryover.
Yes.
What was our carryover from last year?
Those numbers are exactly what was on your 2024 fund stats, the last day, it was available. Did you give one to everybody?
Mhm.
So on that, that's exact what was the carryover from what was not spent at all or appropriated last year. So that's what your money is right there. And for each fund, which is fantastic.
Yes.
Now, are you saying that's the carryover? Well,
Which one are you looking at?
I thought our carryover was much higher at the end of the year of the actual carryover. Because if we're doing a carryover of 5.2 million and estimated revenues 7 million,
That's 12.
5.2 and 2 is 12, is 7.
I thought you said 5.
You have estimated revenue carryover 5.2 million. Estimated revenue 2 million.
That's the, let me take a look at this.
So that's 7 million, but you had sent documentation that we're more at 11 million with revenue and carryover. That's why I'm saying this carryover doesn't make sense because even our bank accounts are, I believe, higher.
I think we're at 9 million.
That's what I'm saying. So how do we have only a carryover of 5?
That's what the fund status states. It says $5,262,828.45. Their estimated revenue will be 2,078 just for the general fund. That's just for the general fund. So that there, between the two of them, just the general fund is.
Okay, so you separate all these. There's not one number.
No, if you take the, what is it, $8.838 million, and if you take, we don't have can you bring up the budget, the revenue stats report?
I mean, I see what you're doing. You're breaking everything apart.
Yeah.
But can we
I'm going to get right, I'll tell you.
put it together because we can't just look at each separate section separately.
I need to be in 2025.
I think we have to look at the totality, especially if we're looking at cash flow for increased anticipated costs in the following year. We've got to kind of know where everything's at.
Right, and what I can do is, Jackie's bringing up the 2025 revenue status report, and that'll tell you how much by fund is expected to come in and the total. All right.
That'll be helpful.
And we can have this printed out for everybody as well.
Hey, can UAN do some graphing for us to show our,
Yeah, it's not that sophisticated.
but we can do it in, we can go ahead and do it in Excel to show. I'd like to see,
Export to Excel.
There's only a few select reports that it will export in Excel.
right, but we could take our amortization schedules for our various debt. I'd like to get, and I've seen it done in other jurisdictions, where we can get some graphic representations of what our debt service is gonna be over the next 10 to 15 years. Well, really depending on how many various loans and debts that we have out there.
I only did 6 months. For a quarter.
No, not this.
And are we, I know he's looking at extended debts graphics, but are we doing, I think it's appropriate that we have a 3-year, 5-year budget of not just looking at this year and
Yes.
because
There's a-
everything's going up, so I think, especially with contract negotiations,
Mhm.
what we need to, if it's a 3-year contract, at least look out 3 years, preferably 5, of where are we gonna be at?
I would do a minimum of 3, yes.
I'd like 5.
Yeah, and that's, I call those capital improvement programs or capital improvement plan, okay? And then, yeah, there is a way to do that on UAN.
Well, just with healthcare, you can expect at 15, you know, whatever. But
Projections.
It compounds, and
Yeah, you can
in 5
project.
years, you'll be shocked at what the expenses are, and especially some jets, even those projections, it's been going down, but it might be going up because more activity, more.
And you got also, not to put a damper on everything, but the state's not going to be giving us as much money this year or next year because they're not getting it.
Right.
The ARPA funds are all dried up.
Mhm.
Their local taxes, well, you've seen where they lowered the income tax to 2.5%, which means your local government funds are going to go down, all right? And the 2025 projections, and that's why I said it was over 12 million, is 3.327 million, which puts you at about $12.1 million in revenue. Okay, that's where you're at, and we can print that report off and give it to everybody.
But like I
This
said,
one?
Yeah.
I'd like to just get a handle on what the future is, and that was one of my things of not paying for trash, and that if there is something that we can reduce what the taxes are or give back, eliminate the road and bridge levy. You know, do something like that instead of these give backs every once in a
Well, the road and bridge levy is a continuous levy, which I think we want to continue to sustain that, because infrastructure costs are,
They're not going down.
we're going to have a lot of infrastructure costs here.
I mean, if you have to use a lot of cold mix, you know, that's about 3 times the price of hot mix.
Yeah, no, it is going up, but the prior board did suspend the road and bridge tax for 1 year.
Right.
Political, it was an election year, but,
But we've got,
It's like if you had a street light levy, all right? You don't quit that because your street lights, you're gonna put more lights up.
Right.
So,
well, we have approximately 3.5 million debt over quite a few number of years on Refugee Road. Plus, we still have to look at how we're going to fund this 1.2 million on Pike Street. And in fact, we're going to be trying to get some updated estimates on that according to the TID, on, see if there's been any adjustments with inflation and the rising costs, so.
okay, in UAN, okay, I will take, because the question came up to debt, okay? They've got 2 programs we have to input for year end. It also goes on the year-end Hinkle report, which has to be submitted to close out the year. But it does not look or appear that it was ever and has been done in the system at all.
Never.
Really?
Right. And that's what they call a schedule of debt service.
Mhm.
And the other one is schedule of outstanding debt, which is dire for everybody to know. Okay,
You said
I don't
schedule
know.
of debt. What was the second one?
Schedule of outstanding debt. And that's never been loaded either.
Yeah, because we just found out about the Taylor, I think, last year.
Correct.
When they were saying, hey, your payment's coming up, payments for what? And those are the things that weren't tracked and weren't.
Yeah. This will track it for you.
Okay.
Good.
And that way you don't, I mean, it just comes
So
out.
you're gonna fix it.
So,
We have to have this done before you close out.
Yep.
so what's the plan now that you're gonna go make the changes at our next meeting coming up next week, that we'll have something to
I'll make
approve,
all
or?
I'll make all these changes, okay? We still have to find out the debt thing. Make these changes, find out what all those other payments was, you know, the other, okay? We'll investigate that and give you that information. I'll make suggestions of where to move that money from and to.
So you're thinking, not this next meeting, but possibly the meeting in March?
Tuesday.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so probably March, first meeting in March.
Well, I want to get this to you by next Tuesday so you guys can look at it.
Yeah.
And when's your March meeting?
First Tuesday in March.
First Tuesday, but we can look at it and get back to you on any,
That's what, because I
Comments.
want to send it to you, because there could be something come up between now and then.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to shorten you, you know, it can always be changed, all right?
Right.
And it's legal. All you have to do is pass a resolution to change it. I just want to let you know that now. There's no such thing as an annual permanent
Right.
budget.
Right.
Correct.
That's just, it's like if you get a grant, that's going to change everything.
Yes.
Right. You have to amend it.
And I know we're short on time here.
yeah, we've got.
Well, first of all, I want to thank my colleagues for participating, as well as the fiscal officer and our visitors here tonight. But Chris, this has really been very helpful. I think it's a big step forward for the township. I think everybody raised a lot of good questions on
Yeah.
things we want to change and adjustments, and a greater grasp of the details on the budget. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, very productive. Thank you for everything.
Thank you for your efforts.
Yeah, that was a good meeting. Thank you.
Yes, it was.
And we'll go in and look at those reports now so I can get that changed before I go home. I might even have to eat supper before 11 o'clock.
Thank you.
Can you guys relate to that?
Yes.
Very good. This time we'll go back to the executive schedule that we had on the agenda, and I'll move to go into executive session per Ohio Revised Code 121.22G for the specific purpose of conducting interviews for township administrator. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans? I got one.
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Should we read these verbatim from ORC?
Well, that's to consider the appointment, dismissal.
No,
Are we going in
We're-
here to do some?
it's only supposed to be so it should be to consider the employment
Yeah,
of a public employee and.
of a public employee, but
Right,
specifically, but
They're
you have to
putting it in
designate specifically for the township administrator
Yeah, we'll
interviews.
get out of You behave yourself.
Thank you. Is there a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Evans. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
We're coming out of executive session at 6:14. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Out of executive session. Next item is the McBride-Dale invoice, which you should have in front of you. I apologize, this was one that we found that had not been paid from last year, and it's $525, so I so moved that we paid this invoice with McBride-Dale Clarion. And is there a second?
Second.
Any questions, discussion?
Yeah, why wasn't it paid, or why wasn't it when it was entered? Because I know previously there were other bills not paid.
Not sure what happened there, Mr. Evans, to be quite honest.
Ms. Petunia?
I'm not sure where it was, but I didn't have it, so.
I have instructed, just for clarification, all vendors have contact with our township administrator. They've been advised that everything goes to the township administrator, although she's been here recently. So there's a lot of change over there, but I also inform when I have contact with vendors, and I think maybe you've experienced the same thing, Mr. Evans, that they need to make sure that maybe we contact a vendor or something for something, but that they, or the road department does, but that everything needs to be copied to the fiscal officer so that she has the invoices. And I know with the various emails and with the previous fiscal officer that sometimes those things don't get where they need to be, but we certainly want to pay our bills timely. This is one that came to our attention, and so we located it and we wanted it on the special agenda tonight so that we can go ahead and get that check out to them forthwith. I'll call the question. Roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes.
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
Motion passes. Is there anyone at this time, we're under public comments, 2 minutes. As it relates, I don't know if anyone was here when we started the meeting. Oh, yes, I'm still here, great. Anyone have any comments that they'd like to address to the board at this time regarding the agenda items that we've had here tonight? And I want to thank the zoning commission for your patience as well. We had some things we had to take care of. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Did you sign the check?
No.
Moved by Ms. McKee, seconded by Mr. Evans.
Second.
Mr. Evans,
Roll call.
roll call, please.
Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Mr. Burkholder?
Yes,
Ms. McKee?
Yes.
we stand adjourned at 6:17 p.m. Thank you. I need to sign something.
Yep, there's a check in there.
Thank you.
Swift?
Are these, oh, never mind, I think these are from Jackie.
Here are Mr. Evans.
No pictures. I'm not Dave Olson. Sure.
I will relinquish my chair.
I vote yes.
Don't get, don't get. That old saying, you don't have to go home, but you gotta get out of here. No problem.